Thanks a lot, guys, to join us on our new webinar. And I really appreciate you guys joining us so early and showing such a good, response to our current webinar. I really appreciate that. Uh, as we can see that, current times, it has become really difficult for, to run business, any kind of a business, let alone gaming and uh, gaming, online gaming or land-based gaming. As you can see in current days, as you can see the current COVID-19 situation, which has hit our world, pretty hard, and it has basically changed the entire way we do business. And the gaming industry is also not, immune to it, as we have seen that it has taken quite a big hit, especially on the land-based casino side, which has seen a deeper impact since due to lockdown, properties are closed completely, and it has changed a lot of lives around in especially in US region. And regarding online sports betting, it has also actually seen a massive hit, because there are a lot of sporting events has been cancelled around. And however, we have seen actually an uplift in online casinos activity. That's the reason being that many of the players who were, going for sports betting and the land-based gaming casino side, they are actually moving towards the online casino and poker. So this is a change which we have seen recently, even with our current customers as well. However, this has resulted in a change in the player profile as well, as these new players who are basically coming from land-based casinos into the online arena, they don't exhibit the same behavior as the existing typical online casino customers. So the behavior side, it is getting impacted a lot. So this is definitely going to have an impact on the overall ecosystem of online casino and poker industry as well, because we need to redefine how to take the new player behavior into consideration. So we as a company, we are keeping a very close watch on these aspects and are trying to understand this behavior, especially its impact on all the aspect of our clients player base. Like just to name a few, it will be player retention or life cycle management. And we will continue to share these and some more insights as we get to them in our future webinars and the current webinar as well. And would request you to stay tuned, till the end, so that you should be. I hope that you should be able to take some insight from this webinar and apply at your corresponding places as well. So just to give a little bit more background before moving into kind of the webinar, is as a vendor for the online gaming industry. So we have been working with online gaming industry from past 10 years, since our inception. So we started our business back in 2011, and the reason we our preferred partner for one of the biggest online gaming companies, named GVC. GVC has a tie-up with MGM as well for their online casino division. And so GVC is our customer since past 6 years now. So GVC, before GVC, it was Ladbrokes Coral, and then it was merged into GVC. So we have been working with these clients from past 6-7 years. And our co-founders actually, before starting this company, they were working with a company called Party Gaming, that is basically the basis of GVC. That is from where the GVC has been built up. So before starting Bizaquity, our founders, they have been extensive experience in this arena, especially online gaming, as they have built the entire BI and analytics framework in these companies, when they were working over there, and then moved on to start Bizaquity, with complete focus on online gaming and land-based gaming. So today's our other host is Rachna Pandey. So she will be taking care of taking you through a few of our webinar today on how to optimize your marketing cost and improve player targeting. So basically, it is divided into some custom solutions and some of the solutions which we do have as an accelerator based solution as well. So she will be taking you through all that. She also comes with a huge gaming background. Till now, like she has been with Biz Equity for last 2 years, and before that she has almost 12 plus years of experience, close to 12 years of experience in gaming side itself, as she was working as well on the Party Gaming PLC. And just to give you a little bit of example of kind of customers we serve and the kind of insights they give out to is some like with the likes of GVC, Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and Vejas and San Diego area. So these are some of the umbrella customers which I just wanted to get your attention to. So over to you, Rachna. Please take us through the webinar today.
Okay. Thank you, Sumit. Hi, good morning, everybody. I hope you all are keeping safe and getting used to the new normal these days. My name is Rachna, and I have been associated with the online gaming industry for almost 12 years now. And in these 12 years, I have seen very closely how this industry has been on the forefront of capturing and storing data. So even when e-commerce industry was in its infancy, this industry evolved through the use of data in different domains of player attention. So we were fortunate enough to be able to capture and store data, and so we used it in different domains like player attention, fraud management, lifetime value management, product profiling, etc., thereby making the business more and more relevant for its customer base. And I have been very fortunate to be a part of this journey and learned extensively from it. So just to set some context for our discussion today, we have some recent data here from a MicroStrategy conference, which shows how adoption of data and technology is growing rampantly in companies around the world. And organizations are realizing its benefits in the form of improved efficiencies, higher productivity, more effective decision making, and better financial performance. But to give you a more relevant example from our current times and the scenario here, today, when a small virus has made our world come to almost a standstill, it is the data which is proving to be a very powerful tool and weapon in our war against the COVID-19. Just the other day, I was reading about how companies are coming up with contact tracing apps where the location data on your phone can actually help in flagging out how many people were there in a similar location as an infected person and are therefore at a risk of contracting this virus. And not just that, these apps are also being built to notify these individuals at near runtime. So this is how powerful data is today. And if it is used judiciously and in the right manner, it can really give an edge to any organization over its peers. Now, coming back to interactive gaming, like we mentioned earlier, Biz Acuity has had a very long and strong association with this industry, and our founders bring in many years of experience in this field. Today, we are able to understand who our customers are, what they like to play, how they react to wins and losses, and what is the value of their overall gaming experience, and how technology can be leveraged to make it even richer for them and a win-win for both our clients and their customers. So to leverage this experience and understanding, we at Biz Acuity decided to build all this know-how into our gaming analytics accelerator so that our clients can also benefit from it. The Gaming Analytics Accelerator is a SaaS-based platform for gaming analytics where customers, they put in transaction level data and get player level predictions as well as complex and interactive dashboards and reports. And these player level predictions can then be fed into either your campaign management systems or be used by the self-service BI as and when required. Now, the accelerator in terms of where it fits into the organization. So, slightly in slightly bigger organizations which already have a data warehouse in place, the accelerator can sit right next to the data warehouse and augment its capabilities. It can read data from the warehouse and store the predictive player level insights as well as analytics outputs into the back to the warehouse. However, in organizations which are slightly smaller or are still in their they are still in their growth phase and they do not have a warehouse yet, this accelerator can actually work as a pseudo warehouse for them and give them all the necessary reports, dashboards, as well as analytics that the organization needs for their BI initiatives. So now, even before I get into the components of the accelerator or its technology stack, let us take 2 minutes to understand why the accelerator and how it has helped our clients. How does it really help our clients? So typically, we know that in any company taking up BI initiatives, it first requires setting up a BI platform. So, which takes anywhere between 6 to 12 months, depending upon the size and scale of operations. Now, with this gaming analytics accelerator, this whole time gets reduced by around 70%. So, there is a very rapid and cost effective onboarding since all the bootstrapping related costs are commoditized. Also, the organization doesn't need to worry about setting up a data scientist team, getting them up to speed with the domain knowledge around gaming, and then get those models working for them. All this is already taken care of in the accelerator. Also, since the entire process eliminates manual handling of data, and also because so many reconciliations and checks and balances have already been put in place, the level of accuracy in the data increases significantly, thereby, in turn, improving the reliability of the data. And that single handedly is a very high contributor in BI adoption. Not to take away from the fact that there's a lot of domain level intelligence that is already built into the insights generated from the accelerator, which address some of the most pertinent issues of the gaming industry, like player retention, player lifetime value management, responsible gaming, and cross selling, and so on. Now, to again come back and spend a few more minutes on this accelerator and how it's designed. So we have, it primarily comprises of 4 components. So there is a data ingestion component, which reads data from different data sources. Then there is a data enrichment component, which takes care of transforming this raw transaction level data into slightly more enriched variables and enriched information, which acts as an input into the AI and ML engine, as well as the dashboarding and reporting component. And in terms of the tech stack, we have used Apache NiFi and Python for the data ingestion component. Python has actually been used across the board. Enrichment and R and Python for the AI and ML engine. And we have used Tableau and Power BI for dashboarding and reporting component. Now, to give a better idea of what exactly I'm talking about and how we have successfully leveraged the capabilities of our gaming analytics accelerator for optimizing marketing costs and improving player targeting, I would like to present to you a discussion on 3 case studies where using the accelerator, we were able to successfully develop customized solutions for our clients. So the first one here deals with the overall marketing cost optimization, whereas the other two are specific cases of optimized player targeting for retention and continued player engagement. So this case study was for we did this project for a client which was one of India's which is rather one of India's pioneers and largest online card games provider, and deals in various entertainment card games. The challenge here was that as a result of generic marketing campaigns based on standard metrics like average bet amount or days since last active, at a system level, the client was spending huge amounts of money, especially on their retention marketing, but achieving very limited success. So the client felt that there was room for improvement in improving the ROI of their marketing expenditure, and that's how they approached us. So as a first step, we performed some exploratory analysis for them, where we did player segmentation based on various demographic and gaming behavioral attributes. This gave a much deeper insight into who the player was. Now, once this was done, we created a model to calculate the RFM scores for players. RFM scores, to give some background, are based on recency, frequency, and monetary value of player transactions. So these RFM scores, therefore, they help model when to bonus and how much to bonus, where the recency and frequency part actually help in deciding the when, and the monetary element helps in deciding how much. Now, the overall scores also help in identifying who to pick up, as higher scores point to the more valuable players in the system. Also, not only that, we continuously fed these scores back into our model for continuous improvement based on feedback. This whole approach helped our client in optimally utilizing their retention budgets to make sure that they target the right set of players at the right time and with the right amount of incentive. Uh, One thing that I would like to specially mention here in this context, something that we have gathered in so many years of observing this business very closely, is that bonus, while being a very potent tool in retention marketing, is a little tricky in the sense that it has a diminishing marginal utility. So the bonus actually gets built into the system. And I'm sure this is something which all of you must have realized. Anybody who is dealing with, retention marketing and this gets built into the system, and 1 year down the line the same amount of bonus doesn't seem to have the same level of impact. So giving the right amount of bonus to the right set of people ensures not only that the marketing costs are kept under check, but also that it doesn't encourage bonus abuse on the system. Now, the overall project, it actually improved the cost efficiencies of at our clients' end, and they were better able to deploy their profits for further business expansion. And given that the business was still in its growth phase, it really helped them. And here, this is the architecture of the of the marketing cost optimization model, where first, like I mentioned, we segmented the players based on their demographic attributes as well as their gaming behavioral attributes. And once that was done, we calculated the RFM scores of these for these players, and we used the combination to identify, like I said, whom to bonus, how much to bonus, and when to bonus. So now we move on to our next case study, which is on player churn prediction. So, as we know, it is up to 5 to 6 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. And so, this case study is one where we discuss how we helped one of our clients, again in the online gaming space, to deal with this specific use case. The client here was struggling with a very high churn rate. So they were a relatively new brand with a very attractive product suite and was spending heavily on player acquisition, which was yielding good results for them. However, they were failing to retain players and the churn rate was really high. So, with the help of our gaming analytics accelerator, we helped in deploying a churn prediction model for them. The task ahead for us was that based on the gaming behavior of the active player base, we predict the potential churners along with their probability of churn, which then their retention teams could use for targeted retention campaigns. Now, I am going to take this opportunity to also show a quick demo of how churn modeling can be done using our gaming analytics accelerator. So we will use the accelerator to first train a predictive churn model and then use that model for generating insights. So, all right. So this is the login page for our gaming analytics accelerator. And I'm just going to log in with the Bizacuity ID. So once I log in, it gives me an option to pick the model I want to work with. And right now, since I want to work with the churn model, I'm going to select the churn model. And then further, it asks me to select whether I want to train a churn model or whether train a new churn model or whether I want to predict using an existing churn model. So I'm going to train a churn model. And now it prompts me to upload the training and test data sets. So typically we work with approximately 3 to 6 months of data. The more the data, the better. But the 3 to 6 months is also dependent on what are the scale of operations at the client's end. Because to train any good model, some minimum threshold data is definitely required. Now, here we prompt the user. I mean, here we have a list of fields to be uploaded. So I have already got the file ready, which has the raw data for training and test based on these fields. And so I'm going to upload it now. And once the data upload completes, this takes me to the data mapping screen where as a client, I need to make sure that the data that I have uploaded corresponds to the data which is required at the source. And here I can see that age is actually mapped wrongly. So I'm going to just make sure that even the sequencing of the fields is correct. So once I finish this, I'm going to press on confirm, and that's when the data enrichment process starts. And let's see what happens in the background when the data enrichment process is going on. So if you notice, we had uploaded a list of approximately 20 variables. And what the data enrichment process does is that it transforms these 20 variables into a set of close to 60 plus variables. I haven't even listed all the variables here, but which we have seen based on our experience that we have gathered is an overarching umbrella of variables that can possibly be used for prediction of churn. And some examples of these are something like days since last bet or days since last win or bonus or bet amount in the last 28 days and so on. Now, once the data enrichment process completes, we move on to the next step, which is the analytical engine, where model selection, training, parameter, hyperparameter tuning, testing, and cross-validation happens post the data preparation stage. And again, going back to what happens in the background, so these 60 odd variables that we have, we have transformed the data into. First, data is separated into numerical and categorical data, and the numerical data is treated for missing values, outliers, and the categorical data. For categorical data, we create dummy variables. Then data analysis is done in the form of univariate analysis and bivariate analysis. So bivariate analysis is typically done to identify relationship between two variables. Uh, Here we want to make sure that there's a high correlation of these independent variables with the target variable, which is churn in our case. And also there's a low correlation amongst one another to make sure that we do not encounter multi-collinearity issues. Now, once the data preparation task is complete and feature engineering task is complete, the data is run through a few automated algorithms here, which which rank these variables, which assign scores to these variables. And these scores are reflective of how good predictors these variables are of the target variable. And and then what we do is we select the top 20 variables out of these this bigger umbrella of variables that we had here. And just to get into why we select only 20, why don't we run the prediction on all the variables? So that is primarily done to avoid any noise in the model. So that the extra variables don't introduce any noise. We make sure that we work with the optimal set of variables. Also, one more thing I would like to point out here is that you will notice that our feature selection process is again an automated process. And what this does is that it eliminates any human biases in selection of these variables. So, what happens is that let's say, for example, date difference between first and last bet. And the first two clients I worked with, I know that this is a very good predictor of churn. Now, I tend to be biased towards this variable, and I will include this variable in my top 20 list, even if it's not a very good predictor for the third client. However, this entire human bias and selection is eliminated in this automated process. And so at any time we work with the top 20 best predictors of the target variable. Now, once this is done and the data is split into training and test data sets, and we typically work with an 80-20 split. And then again, we run the training data through multiple algorithms. Here again, what we do, we run them through some 8 to 10 algorithms, and then select the top 5 algorithms which show better accuracy and better results. And out of those top 5 algorithms also, we further perform hyperparameter tuning on those algorithms, and finally pick the best algorithm which has the highest level of accuracy, and also where the accuracy of the train set and the test set is similar, to make sure that we are not running into overfitting. Excuse me. Yeah. So coming back, so once this step completes and our model is ready, we just press next, and we can see the model prediction outcome. Now, this is in the form of a confusion matrix, classification report, and ROC curves for train and test sets. Now, as you can see here, we have the precision recall, F1 score, accuracy. And once we are fairly happy with the accuracy of the model, we can save this model. Now, it again takes me to the screen where it asks me whether I want to train another model or whether I want to use an existing model for prediction. Now, if, for instance, my accuracy had been low, I could have chosen to feed another data set here, and or maybe slightly more data, and try and train another churn model. But since my accuracy here was upward of 80%, I can choose to predict using a churn model. Now again, it asks me to upload the data, this time for those players, the same set of data which we had loaded for training, but this time for those players for whom we want to run the prediction. So again, I have my data file ready here, and now I can select the model which I just saved, and once I select this, I can see the result in the form of player level outcome, or as to whether the player will churn or not churn, and what is the probability of the churn. And I have the capability of downloading this as a CSV file. But what I can also do is directly feed this into the CRM system, integrated with the CRM system, and work on generating some automated campaigns for targeting these players. So coming back to the to how how our client decided to use it. So our client decided to call it this model as an automated churn blocker, and they already had an EDW in place. So the player level transaction data could be read directly from the EDW into the accelerator, and the output player level predictions were directly fed into a CRM tool, which had some automated campaigns configured to pick these players and target them via SMS and email. And in terms of business impact, like I said, these players were targeted in campaigns, and their performance was benchmarked against a control group. Now, I have just picked 5 days worth of data, daily data of control versus target. And what we can see here is that there was a consistent improvement noted in the retention rates, upward of 7% for the target group, which was targeted in this campaign, which gives an insight into how useful it was for our client to use this model. So this brings me to the end of my second case study on player churn prediction.
Dear attendees, thanks a lot for staying with us till now. And before we, Rachna, give you, this other case study, what we have done over here for our customers, I would really appreciate if you can ask us few questions, which Rachna will be taking after the completion of the webinar. You can go to the Q&A section, and you can post your questions over there. Thank you. Rachna, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So coming to our third case study, which was on player visit frequency modeling. Player visit frequency modeling plays a very important part in a player's lifetime value management. Talking of player lifetime value management, it essentially comprises of two important components or goals. First is to increase the average life of players in the system, and second is to increase the average spend per player during that life. Now, a player frequency modeling helps in the second part. If the player visits the site more frequently for gaming activities, then the overall average spend tends to go up. And this is exactly what we try to achieve with our client here by performing player frequency modeling using our gaming analytics accelerator. So the objective was to predict the next 7-day APD of APD as an active player days or visit frequency of all active players. Now, we modeled it as a classification problem where we divided the predicted frequency into 3 buckets. So there was a high frequency bucket where the predicted APDs were between 5 and 7. There was a moderate frequency bucket where the predicted APDs were between 1 and 4. And there was a third zero frequency bucket where the predicted APDs were expected to be 0 in the next 7 days. Now, we worked with player level transaction data again on this for the last 6 to 8 months. And using our gaming analytics accelerator, we tried to train the APD model. And one challenge that we encountered here was that of unbalanced data. So, as you all must be aware, especially for new players, maximum churn happens in the first 1 week of their system age. So, therefore, the data that we were working with, it was heavily biased towards the class with 0 predicted APDs. And therefore, the model was also getting biased towards that output. Now, this typically happens in creating a predictive model. If we give it too many outcomes as a particular outcome, then the model has a tendency to give all to again the model tends to get biased basically towards that output. So balancing data, this data was a challenge. To overcome this, we used certain data balancing techniques like SMOT and a voting classifier. Now, the client we successfully managed to overcome this problem and achieve an accuracy of 83 to 87% for the APDs in the next 7 days. Now, the client mapped the predicted next 7-day APD to the previous 7-day APDs to monitor any drop in player engagement and identified players they wanted to target for their campaigns. So what they did was that they broadly created 3 types of campaigns. The first group of players were picked up by the retention campaigns, I'm sorry. And these obviously picked up players whose predicted APD was falling to 0. And especially they made sure that they pick up players who showed a higher promise of being more valuable, which they gauged by looking at their initial deposit amounts or initial betting patterns. Now, the second type of automated campaigns picked up the average frequency players, and these players were targeted by offers on cross-sell and upsell campaigns. So, because the client wanted to make sure that there is sustained engagement that is maintained for these players, and they are exposed to enough opportunities on the platform for entertainment. And finally, the third list of high frequency players were transferred to a special host team, which was created and which, along with sending them the upsell and cross-sell promotions, monitored them very closely in terms of their bet and win patterns and game frequency, and ensured continuous engagement once again. And now, what this third group, it also made sure that any sort of fraudulent gameplay was also got highlighted in this third set of very high frequency players trying to game the system and take money out of it. Now, this strategy worked out really well for our client, as they had much more visibility of their players. And like I mentioned, the accuracy that we achieved on these models was was somewhere between 83 to 87%. And which again, and this was very consistent. So, it improved the reliability of the model for the client. And One more thing, as a bonus, what happened was that this also helped in forecasting system level revenues, because we were predicting how many players are going to be active on the system in future. So that was taken as an input by the forecasting teams in the system level revenue forecasting, and this achieved an accuracy of more than 98%. And yeah, this is the output. Like I mentioned earlier, we again conducted this project using our gaming analytics accelerator, and this was the output of the model that we achieved from there in the form of a confusion matrix, classification report, and here, as you can see, the accuracy of this model is around 87%. uh, One more thing, I mean, before coming to the end of this, I just also want to point out that the models that we create using the Gaming Analytics Accelerator, typically our clients action the result of those models, and because of which the player behavior and the pattern on their retention or their frequency tends to change over time. And exactly for this reason, we always recommend our clients to keep training new models, and at least every 2 months, we recommend that they should train a new model, and make sure that we are working with models which have good accuracies. So this brings me to the end of the discussion on these three case studies. And thanks a lot for your patience and listening to me. And I hope you gained something from this. And now we are open for questions.
Thanks, Rashna. Thanks for taking us through this webinar. So I see that we have a lot of questions. So
Mhm.
what in the consider time, we will what we'll do, we'll try and take at least 3 or 4 questions. And as the first question, as one of the questions which I am seeing, like almost 6 to 7 people, attendees are asking, is how can I get started on the accelerator, and what are the deployment options do you have?
Okay, so thank you for this question, and it's actually a good question. So we have three different deployment models, and our clients can choose the one which suit their need the best. So the first and usually the most popular option with our clients is the multi-tenancy model, where multiple clients share the same service cluster, and the data is still completely segregated, so there's no worries on that front, but the compute infrastructure is shared. Now, the second is the multi-instance model, where we have a separate deployment of our gaming accelerator exclusively for a specific client on the cloud. This infrastructure is not shared with any other client, so clients with a higher compute need or with much bigger scale of operations, or those who want to keep their data segregated, go for this. And finally, there is an on-premise deployment option, where if due to regulatory reasons the client wants the servers as well as the customer data to remain in their premises, then we also give an on-prem deployment option. Now, there are obviously different features and capabilities that come with these deployment models, and you can maybe our sales team can assist you in getting to those details on features and pricing.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, as Rashna, as you were talking about the deployability, we actually got 2 or 3 more questions which directly relate to it. So first, we'll take this. The second question, which I would say, which comes after this, would be, can end user bring their own licenses and softwares?
Okay. So, to this, I would say that the technology licenses for the accelerator are ours actually, and managing them internally helps us reduce costs for our customers also. So we do not, allow customers to bring their own licenses.
Yeah, thanks for your answer. And something which related to the same accelerator question is another. I see that there are 2 or 3 questions on the security. How secure basically is our BizAcuity's cloud environment?
Okay, okay, that's actually another good question, and we get this a lot because I can understand the concern around the data security. So, to give you to answer that, I would say that it's very secure, and we have multiple levels of the way we are securing it in our approach to securing it is threefold basically. So first is that we have role-based access control implemented. So for every client, the database is separated by the client ID, and only the users which are created by that client can use the data and have access to the data as well as the models. Also, this accelerator setup is not accessible from the outside world. So we are only open to whitelisted IPs. So what we do is we typically whitelist the IPs of our existing clients, and then only from those IPs, this setup is accessible. And finally, also, we do not expect any PII information to come in because that is not required for any modeling or any dashboard or reporting exercise. So we haven't really seen any data protection concerns so far. I hope that answers.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachna. Thanks for the
Yeah.
answer. And one more question related to the same accelerator platform. It is coming as we have like 3 individuals asking us this question. Do we have an option to select our own cloud, uh, or do we need to go with your selection?
Okay, so the multi-tenancy option, excuse me, the multi-tenancy option that we have, because it's a shared infrastructure, we cannot give that option to to our clients to select their own cloud. However, in case of the multi-instance deployment, because the infrastructure is pertaining to each individual client, we have that flexibility, and the clients can select their own cloud setup. So that's not a problem.
Great, thanks. Thanks for your answers, Rachna. And I see there are a lot of many questions as well, and some of those questions are basically it will be better that if we answer in person. So what I can suggest is that we can. What we'll do today is we will take up, we'll send out this recording of this entire webinar to everybody who's attending this, and I will send out mine and Rachna's personal email IDs, official IDs as well, so that we can take those questions. You can take those questions and we can interact over the email and try and answer the
Yes,
questions
we'll
as
be
possible.
right. We'll be happy to answer any questions and get into much more details of our solutions or our approach or anything around this. I think, yeah, please feel free to get in touch with us.
Yes, thanks. And last but not the least, I would, try to end this by saying that, as we are a vendor in the online gaming industry from past 10, 11 years now, 10 years now, and as our, senior management team has been working in this industry for past almost 20, 30 years. And what we have also see that there is a lot of focus on cost and cash flow preservation for business continuity, which is going on right now. and not only in only in our industry, that is online gaming specifically, but it is going on in the industries throughout the globe, in several different industries, including land-based company industries as well. And we understand this, and we are coming up with a few more creative cost solutions to help our customers tide through this whole situation which we are in currently today, and would like to talk to you more about these with you in a few more upcoming webinars which we'll be rolling out. So one of those webinars we are trying to roll out in by mid of May, and in that we will be getting our head of delivery, who is basically working for GVC directly. So and he is helping out GVC at this point in time, tied through through all the difficulties which they are going through right now. And we will try and cover in that particular case something which is we have seen that has generated a lot of demand in online gaming industry side, which is called player lifetime value and recommendation engine. So these two things which we have been seeing from past 1 year, we have seen that there is a huge demand for this kind of technology. And specifically in the past couple of months since the advent of COVID, we have seen that many of our customers has asked us for develop this recommendation engine for them. So keeping these things in mind, we will be coming out with a few other webinars as well, and we would really love if you would join us over there. And regarding this, all the other questions, I'm really sorry that we are not able to take all these questions because we have a lot of questions. And what we are going to do is we will, as I mentioned earlier, we will be sending out an email to all of you who have joined our webinars with the video, with the entire video. And in that email, we'll be mentioning my personal email ID and Rashna's personal email ID, and you can reach out to us anytime, and we will try our best to answer all your questions. And with this, I would like to say again a big thank you to all the attendees to join our webinar and given us this chance to present ourselves and put forward our vision of what is going to be in the online gaming industry, specifically in in the North American market, specifically in US. So thanks a lot again for joining in today, and I wish you to stay safe. Follow social distancing, and we are pretty sure that every pandemic, every hardship passes away, this will also pass away, and we will recover it in a much better way than we were earlier in this industry. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining today. Have a nice day.